世界のみんなとつながろう Bridges across world communities.
Hello and welcome to Bridges Across World Communities, sponsored by NIA, the Nishinomiya City International Association. My name is Thelma.
And I'm Floyd. Each month we provide useful knowledge for daily living and important information about disaster prevention for our English-speaking residents in the Nishinomiya area.
Yes, and this program is broadcast on the second and fourth Saturday of each month from 12 noon to 12:15.
This month we'll talk about the current influenza situation, what to do when an earthquake strikes, and how to use a COVID-19 consultation service in English.
And our guest for this month is Mr. Richard May, Jr., Consul General of the U.S. Consulate General at Osaka, Kobe. 提供は西宮市国際交流協会です。
So, how are you this month, Thelma?
Not too bad, Floyd. But the continuing spread of the new coronavirus still worries me. Did you know that?
Yeah, well, me too. It's really stressful.
Yes, and there never seems to be any good news anymore.
Well, you're in luck. Today, we do have some good news.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's the topic?
Influenza.
Oh, and I expecting something a little more positive than that.
Well, this is positive. As you know, during the winter months, the flu is quite common here in Japan. In fact, over 3,000 deaths are caused directly by the flu each year.
Yes. And I heard the flu was responsible for more like around 10,000 deaths each year, right?
Well, yeah, that's true. If you also take into account those who died from the worsening of pre-existing conditions or chronic illnesses, due to influenza.
Yeah, so where's the positive news there? And where are you talking about?
Well, I don't know. Do you remember how we talked about preparing for the influenza season on our program last October?
Oh, yes.
Well, at the time, there was a serious concern about influenza and the new coronavirus spreading through the population at the same time.
Yeah, and everyone was worried about that, right?
Yeah. Well, so far this season, there have hardly been any flu cases at all.
Okay, really?
Yeah. So, every flu season, the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare tracks the outbreak of influenza on a weekly basis. So from early September of last year to January 10th of this year, there were only 664 cases of influenza nationwide.
Oh.
Now, during that same period over the past 5 years, there was an average of over 350,000 cases.
That's
and
quite.
This is the first time in 5 years that there hasn't been a nationwide influenza outbreak in January.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I don't know anyone who has caught the flu this year. And maybe preventive measures we're taking against COVID-19 is helping against influenza too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, we're all wearing masks, we're
Yes,
disinfecting our hands, gargling, and maintaining social distancing, all this stuff.
Yes, and okay, I agree. And the low influenza numbers is positive news. After all, now
Yes.
I have some positive news.
Oh, what's that?
Tomorrow is Valentine's Day.
Yes. Did you bring me some chocolates?
Yes, I have. Yeah, here.
What do you got? What do you have?
Yeah, I got for everyone, for our producer and for the
Ah.
directors, but everyone. Okay. And
Well,
for you,
thank
chocolate.
you.
And for you, Koto.
So for the producer and director, everybody, this is really nice. No, this is Tomo Choco.
Yes, Tomo Choco. Yeah.
That's just chocolate for friends.
Yeah.
I was expecting some homemade choco. Like the chocolates for loved ones.
In your dreams, Floyd. And do you want it or not?
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
And do you have any chocolates for me?
Yeah, well, looks like our producer's saying we're running out of time. And, I'm just joking.
Okay.
Here you
Oh
go.
my God,
a
really?
big box of homemade choco for you.
Yeah, you caught me in a surprise. Thank you
Homemade
so
choco.
much. So, it
Yeah.
sounds like a good idea and have a nice to keep it. It's very nice to keep in touch, really.
Yeah, well, it's the thing is people aren't really able to go and visit each other anymore like they have in the past. I mean, there's a little bit, quite a few restrictions. So, these days what you can do is you can always mail a little gift package, write a letter or send a message card.
Yes.
Just, let them know that you're thinking of them.
Yes, thank you so much. And happy Valentine's, everyone.
And welcome back to the second part of our interview with Mr. Richard May, Jr., Consul General of the U.S. Consulate General, Osaka. Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you.
Now, last month we left you in Shikoku teaching English.
Right.
We were talking about your career. What did you do after that?
Well, I went back to New York, got my graduate degree in international affairs with a specialization in East Asia, and eventually got a job in New York City Hall dealing with sister city exchanges. And at the time, Tokyo, New York were celebrating its 25th anniversary as sister cities. So I was heavily involved in activities both in Tokyo and New York. And then afterwards, I joined the State Department, moved to Washington, D.C., and my first assignment abroad was to Japan, where I spent 5 years.
So it sounds like you've had a lot over the years. You've been in Japan several times.
Well, this is my fourth time to Japan as a diplomat.
Is this common for a diplomat to have that much history with a country they're stationed in?
Well, in a place like Japan or China, where the language requirement is such that you have to really dedicate a lot of time and resources to becoming fluent in order to do your job well, it just makes sense to take advantage of that and have repeat assignments. So that said, many of us who've studied, let's say, Korean, Chinese, or Japanese tend to have multiple assignments, but that's not always the case.
Now, I've heard that you've been to every prefecture in Japan over the years.
That's right.
I don't think very many Japanese people have even done that.
Everyone who I've met who picked up on that said exactly that they've never been to all the prefectures.
Now, after all this time, do you have any favorite areas or really memorable experiences in Japan?
Well, my favorite city perhaps in the world is Kyoto. And when I've lived abroad outside of Japan and I've wanted to come back to visit Japan, my destination was always Kyoto. And now that I'm living here in Kansai, I get to go every weekend. So I'm very happy.
So now it's been 40 years since you first came to Japan. What kind of changes have you seen in that time?
Well, I could say for Tokushima, the two big bridges connecting first Honshu to Awaji and Awaji to Shikoku were completed. And essentially now Tokushima is part of the Kansai area.
I guess it used to be much more remote in those days.
Exactly. I used to have to take a ferry to get across. And so, of course, Tokushima has developed a great deal. But all over Japan, there's been great changes. But I like to visit places that I've been to in the past that haven't changed. Some of that includes places in Kyoto, but also many natural scenic areas throughout Japan that I really enjoy and love to visit again. I particularly enjoy going to onsens.
Yeah, one of my favorite things, too. Now, let's go back. Let's go way back. Where were you born and raised?
So I was born and grew up in New York City.
Which part?
In Queens. And I experienced New York at I would say, a very pivotal time. Perhaps not the best time in terms of the city's history, but certainly impactful and certainly influenced my life and my outlook. And I would say helped to form my personality and outlook, which has enabled me to be an effective diplomat.
What are you referring to, basically?
Well, I think being in New York gives you it's a very cosmopolitan city, as you know, very international, and the exposure to many different ethnic communities, as well as high culture, whether it's Broadway shows or world-class art museums, theater, opera, all these activities were available to me, especially in high school. And attending these activities just gave me a very broad view of everything. And these are things that I continue to enjoy to this day.
I always hear about how during the 60s and 70s, New York was a pretty rough place. I mean, going through a tough time.
It was. You'd go out and you always had to have money in two different places. One in your pocket, which you called mug money, and then the rest in your belt or under your foot in the shoe. The chance of getting mugged was pretty common.
Were you ever mugged?
Yes, it happened a couple of times. And the subways were not very pleasant.
Well, it's definitely a different city today.
Absolutely.
No, you must see. You grew up in Queens, so that would make you a New York Mets fan. Is that right?
Exactly. One of my biggest thrills when I was here in Japan, I was working in the press office at the embassy in Tokyo in 2000, and it was the first time that Major League Baseball played official games outside of North America. And lo and behold, my favorite team came to Tokyo. The Mets played the Cubs. and we attended all the games. We, meaning my daughter and I,
Yes.
and we had an all-access pass, which allowed me on the field. And so I got to interact with the manager, the coaches, and the
Wow.
players,
Wow.
and it was a lot of fun.
Wow.
As a lifelong Mets fan, to have that opportunity, that would be, I would say, priceless.
Amazing. So now, how long will you be in Japan on this current assignment?
This assignment is for 3 years.
And what's next in your career? Do you have some more cities or countries you want to visit, or what are your plans after Japan?
I've always wanted to serve at the U.S. Embassy in Rome.
Why is that?
It's the building itself, the chancery, is called the Palazzo Margherita.
Oh.
It was the former palace of the Queen, which the U.S. government purchased after World War II. It's a beautiful building, has world-class artworks within the building. And I've always wanted to live in Italy. So if I can get a job in Rome, that would be heaven. If I don't, I'll still get to Italy one way or the other because I already have property there, and I look forward to actually spending my retirement in Italy.
Now, does your property have room for visitors?
Absolutely.
Okay,
It's going to
we'll
be.
have
It's on Airbnb as it
Oh, it
is.
is?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have to take advantage of that. Now, very briefly, I guess last things, do you have any messages for American or Japanese citizens living in the Nishinomiya area?
Well, I referred to this earlier. I really do believe that every citizen is a diplomat when they are abroad. And I think it's important that they recognize that and that they want to put their best foot forward as a representative of their country and their culture. So there's a role for everyone. I mean, I'm a professional diplomat. I've been doing this for over 30 years. I represent my country officially. But everyone represents their country in an unofficial way, just like I did when I was teaching English in Tokushima many years ago. So I do encourage people to think about that because everyone is a diplomat when it comes down to it.
A very nice message. Well, Richard, we'd really like to thank you once again for joining us today, and we'll hope you join us again before you leave, while you're here, and maybe even participate in some NIA events during your stay.
All right. よろしくお願いします。
Thank you. 防災情報です. Well, 26 years ago, on January 17th, 1995, at 5:46 in the morning, a major earthquake struck the southern part of Hyogo Prefecture. In Nishinomiya City alone, more than 1,000 people lost their lives.
And with that reminder,
Yes.
let's review the most basic action and we should take in event of an earthquake.
First and foremost, lower your body and protect your head and neck.
That's right, and get under something like a sturdy desk or table and hold on to the legs.
And don't move until the shaking subsides.
Now, earthquakes strike suddenly, so remember this simple basic action. Don't panic. It looks like this COVID-19 situation isn't going away anytime soon. Now, if you have any questions or concerns, please call the Nishinomiya Health Center at 0798-262240.
They're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. and weekends and holidays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
And if you need an English interpreter when contacting the health center, call the National COVID-19 Telephone Interpretation Service at 0364364818, and this service is available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Now, when the operator first answers your call, just say English, please. Then, when asked for your address, answer Nishinomiya City, Hyogo Prefecture.
And wait on the line while they set up the three-way call between an English interpreter and Nishinomiya City Public Health Center.
Now, there's no charge for the interpretation service, but you will be charged for the long-distance call to Tokyo.
And when using the service, be sure to talk slowly and use short sentences.
And when you have to go out, avoid the 3 C's: closed spaces, crowded places, and close contact.
Be sure to wear a mask, wash your hands, and gargle.
And please continue to do all you can to stay healthy and to also prepare for this year's flu season.
Lastly, if you have any questions or need help, don't hesitate to contact NIA at 0798-328680 or write an email to nia@nishi.or.jp. 提供は西宮市国際交流協会でした。
I think we have some time to get into our chocolate. Ready?
Okay.
I'm going to open mine.
Okay. So
Happy
remember,
Valentine's.
Yeah, happy Valentine's
Yeah,
Day. Keep
everyone.
safe, everyone.
Bye-bye.